You are listening to Rouge Radio, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
It's time to get the point as Rouge Radio is ready to kick off.
Ready!
The best football talk with the best in the business.
So what is the cost? You have 2 first-round picks this year because the Argos were dumb enough to trade for Drew Willie.
A few rookies.
We go directly to the on-field product. We welcome to the show the 20th overall pick in this past Sunday's CFL draft, DeAndre Wright of the Alouettes. DeAndre, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
And the occasional Hall of Famer.
Please welcome Doug Brown, who is one of the members of the current class of 2016 in the CFL Hall of Fame. Doug, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you guys for the kind words and for having me on the program.
Rouge Radio is on the air. Here's your hosts, Robert Dalton and Tony Allen.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Rouge Radio podcast, powered by the Canadian Football Podcast Network. This is episode 500 and something. It doesn't matter. My name is Irv, and I tell you how to contact the host of the Rouge Radio podcast. You can contact them by Twitter or Blue Sky at Rouge Radio, and Dalts at Rouge Dalts, and Tony at Tony Rouge. You can email them at thenewrouge@gmail.com. Don't worry, they won't read those emails. This podcast is sponsored by the good people over at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com, enter the promo code Rouge, and you get 20% off your order, plus free worldwide shipping. Go to Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce the host of the Rouge Radio podcast live from Winnipeg, Manitoba, and the Sandman Hotel in Red Deer, Alberta, Tony Allen and Rob Dalton. Gentlemen?
Oh, thank you, Irv. Yes, there's a part of me that wanted me to play Metallica. The Sandman Hotel, that's where Tony's live right now. So if for those of you who are playing the Where's Tony game that we usually play, I guess we just kind of, spoiler alert, you're in the Sandman Hotel in Red Deer.
That's right. Work has taken me to central Alberta, right in the middle of, well, basically both Battle of Alberta. It's although hockey-wise, it's leaning a little bit more to the Oilers side, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It must be an interesting city to live overall when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I was like, what would life be as far as hockey-wise? Because the Pacific. I mean, we'll get to our CFL podcast. This is what you're here for, as we start our 9 teams in 9 weeks. And this week we start on with the Ottawa Redblacks. But today, or right now, we will start talking about a little bit of hockey because it's been 2 months, almost 2 months since we've last talked. So I guess we could talk about a little bit of hockey before we get to the meat and potatoes of the podcast here today. What is hockey life in Red Deer? Is it just one?
I don't get out much, and right now the WHL playoffs just started. So actually, I'm in the same hotel as the Prince Albert Raiders. That's who the Rebels are playing tonight, and I think they're going to eliminate the Rebels in 4 straight. And that's kind of like where my hockey attention is, looking for back-to-backs. But it's funny, I was thinking too when we were talking about where am I need to get a map behind me and just put pegs of every place I've done a show from.
Yeah,
Canada.
Yeah, we could
map of Canada.
Yeah, we could do that. Where in the world is Tony Allen?
Yeah, well, Canada. Where in Canada did I go next?
we need to get the.
Where in the world is Tony Allen in Canada?
Okay, I've been having.
It almost sounds like ransom request, and it does a fun little thing. But what are you gonna do?
Listeners of Rouge Radio, I will not give Tony Allen unless you give us $2 million.
I'm having way too much fun with this one. How's life outside of being in Red Deer? Life is pretty good. It's been a while.
It has, yeah. I guess it's. Gosh, did we do a show? We did a show early this year, though, right?
We've done 2 shows this year.
Yeah.
And this is the first show that we're done in the Dalts' new casa. This is
no backwards Winnipeg or upside down Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Well,
He's out of the old house, so he's not under the sweet direction anymore.
well, we're in the permanent studio, and no, I haven't. Oh, man, I didn't realize how much stuff we've had. I'm a freaking pack rat.
You're a hoarder.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is you find some odd stuff that you didn't realize you had. There's a picture of me in 1992 as a goalie. You I don't know if you remember if you ever played community club hockey. As a
No.
kid. Well, in the community club hockey, they gave you the goalie equipment because not a lot of people play community club hockey that can afford goalie equipment. And if you had your own, that was a bonus. But the community club would actually donate it for you. So you could tell that it was community club hockey because this equipment in 1992 looked like they were from 1972. And it's
sounds about right.
Yeah, I had the 92 haircut with the 72 equipment. So you could tell it's like something didn't match well.
Yeah. You're representing all the decades.
Yeah, exactly. I got the 80s attitude with the 90s hair with the 70s equipment, and now I've got the 2000 slang. I could just start saying everything is cap, everything's fire. No.
Yeah. Actually, that's the worst. My daughter, every time I talk to her, it's like, okay, bro. Or no, what is it?
Bruh.
Crap. Oh, no, it's not bra. It's crap. I'm glad I forget, but it's like, okay, bud. That's what everything is.
Okay, well, that's not bad.
Hey,
that's not
do
bad.
This. Okay, bud. Okay, bud. Like just that sarcastic, okay, bud. Like, oh my gosh, it's killing me.
Let's get to this week's the reason people are tuning in. It is the start of our 9 teams in 9 weeks, and it's the Ottawa Redblacks. And I know that we talk about a lot of the moves, the off-season moves, but I think the biggest move that we could talk about is the acquisition of Ryan Dinwiddie as their GM and head coach. And we could go, when we talk about our preview, we could talk about that as much as we can. But how did we get here? Because the Ottawa Redblacks went last year 4-14 in 2025, 417 points for, not the best, but not bad, but 537 points against, by far the worst in the actually the second worst in the Eastern Division, second behind the Toronto Argonauts. 2-7 at home, and you can use your math there for a second here. Get the 2-7 on the road. My Google, I'm watching, it doesn't tell me, and I had to do the quick math there. Gone, Dustin Crum, as well as Devon Santos Knox, and incoming, well, it's a lot. Jake Mayer, backup quarterback, as well as Marquez Ivy, one of the few offensive linemen that they were able to acquire after our last show. Eberhardt, a receiver out of BC, and a slew of defensive players, notably A.J. Allen and C.J. Rivas from the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Tony, let's talk about the head coaching decision, because I feel, I don't know about you, but I feel like the Ottawa and Hamilton are the two teams where we kind of like, they make the right moves, but they always let us down in the regular season. And I'm really hesitant to be positive. But when you start the right place, I still say, last year I said, how do you fix the Redblacks? You get rid of Bobby Dice, you get rid of Sean Burke, and then you get a bona fide backup quarterback. You get you acquire through free agency or trade a left guard, and I think they did that. We can all question about whether Jake Mayer is a bona fide starter, but as an experienced backup quarterback, I think they nailed it. Also, you're shaking your head. Yes, we can all agree that Jake.
Oh, is my camera on? Shoot, I didn't know. I thought you paused it.
But aside from Sean Burke being gone, he's director of operations. He's not the GM anymore, and I think they did everything they could within the CFL ops caps. But I think we should start there about the head coaching and Ryan Dinwiddie. What do you expect from Dinwiddie in Ottawa?
I don't know. I think it's a great pedigree of quarterback or sorry, head coach to bring in. I think he's made more than a excellent case to be one of the top coaches that we've seen in the Canadian Football League. And uh, if you want the right coach with the projected right talent that you feel you've brought in, and obviously I have my issues with Jake Mayer, but that's coming from a team that gave up Bo Levi Mitchell in favor of Jake Mayer, and
Mm-hmm.
which, let's be honest, I can joke all I want, or I can make like that's a pretty unfair start to Jake Mayer's career to come in and have to match what Bo Levi Mitchell did in Calgary. So I do appreciate that. That's almost setting someone up to fail. It's like, okay, we've gone from, this quarterback to we've gone from Doug Flutie to Jeff Garcia to Dave Dickinson. We'll skip the guy after that. But, then Henry Burris and Bo Levi Mitchell. And I mean, I suppose history said Jake Mayer should have been a slam dunk because the guy coming in always seems to do better than the incumbent. But again, for every Bo Levi Mitchell and Henry Burris, you're gonna have a Marcus Crandall or a Fetter Kyle. I can't remember Kevin Fetter Kyle,
Oh,
But
I almost said Kevin Federline, but that's a different one. No, you're talking about Kevin Federick.
that's it.
Yeah,
Federic,
yeah.
the boss's
the,
son.
the boss's son. Yeah,
Like,
nine
come on.
times out of 10, that does not work out well. In fact,
Yeah.
and that first
But
time
no,
that
so I do think I just before coming on the show too, I was thinking it seems like probably the most fun to start 9 teams, 9 weeks because we have to go with Ottawa because they finished last. But I think when it comes to expectations, this has to be the number one team on that list
Mhm.
because of what they did. And I mean, we've seen the Tiger Cats, probably the biggest one, who tries to do what Ottawa did this offseason and it doesn't work. So I think you would be more than justified in having a lot of doubts on whether or not this actually translates into success. But I mean, talking about the head coach, I think you've gotten the right coach for what you've brought in to deal with. Because even with Hamilton bringing in Jason Moss straight from backing up quarterback to, or sorry, the other guy, frig, I'm not good with names today for some reason. But no, it was Jason Path and Ricky Ray.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Must be something in the Red Deer water. But yeah, like when you try and bring in Jason Moss after freshly backing up Ricky Ray to quarterback and then, do whatever. I think with the personnel that they've tried to bring in, I think they've got the right person uh, to try and turn that into something. I don't think it's instant success, but it's definitely what Ottawa needed to do.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're not going to be world beaters. And here's the thing, they where they added like a plethora of defensive players. It's going to take time for that team and for those groups to gel. It really would. And when you look at their schedule, I'm just taking a peek at their schedule. They've got 2 games against Edmonton, another team that needs to do well. They've got, I would pretty much say, almost a gimme against Toronto. And then they've also got games against Montreal and Saskatchewan. Those are games, their first 6 weeks. I think they got a bye in week 2. But those, you very well could be starting the season 2-3 out of your first 5 games. But you also could be starting the season 4-1, depending on how good Saskatchewan is coming out of training camp, or as well as how healthy Davis Alexander is coming in. But enough about those teams. So I'm based on their schedule, based on the moves that they made. I could see this team really starting out 3-2, 2-3, and I think if you come out with one of those 2 records, you're giving yourself a shot. Because it's yeah, you mentioned with Hamilton, it's not like did they add one too many players? Probably, but I like the moves that they made. I like the holes that they were filled. They added guys like Demario Houston. They added guys like CJ Rivas, guys like AJ Allen. Those are predominantly almost, if they're not all-star players, that could make it definitely that made your team just on paper alone better. And not only that, they filled holes that were on your team last year. And I think that's what free agency is. The fact that they went like into the deep end in the free agent pool indicates how bad that team was last year. And I think also that also comes into the conclusion with Ryan Dinwiddie coming in, getting his guys. I don't even know. He probably is aware of Jake Mayer. I don't think that Mayer was on the team when Dinwiddie was with Calgary, but he might have been on the negotiating list at that point. To me, it's just a matter of, how fast can that defensive core, especially in the back end, how fast can they gel together? That to me is the question. If they can get that together, then, you're giving yourself a shot. And another thing, I really want to see Drew Brown take that next step under a guy, an offensive guru like Ryan Dinwiddie. We saw what Ryan Dinwiddie was able to do with Nick Arbuckle. There is that, that mediocre quarterback you can make look all CFL. And Drew Brown, he's just waiting for that guidance. And I don't think he was really able to get that with guys like Tommy Condell or even Bob Dice in Ottawa for the last 2 seasons. Anything you want to add? Do you want to just go right into the predictions?
No, I mean, there's a few more things I could probably beat the dead horse, and as far as like what to expect for Ottawa this season, whether I do it now or leading up to my prediction. But I mean, I feel bad for Tiger Cats fans saying this, but I think Ottawa fans have kind of suffered after their great return to the Canadian Football League, and then have just gone back.
So have
to
Hamilton Tiger Cat fans. They've suffered.
And there's Tiger Cats fans rolling their eyes, but it's like there's also the standpoint. It's like we got no energy left for you, Tiger Cats fan. We done it so many times when you got Casey Printers, and we're all like, yay, this is it for the Tiger Cats. And then you got Henry Burris, yay for the Tiger Cats. And then, you got Jason Moss, hey, the Tiger Cats, this is it. And like, then you Bo Levi Mitchell, yay, this is like, it's the boy who cried Tiger Cat, like the boy who cried Tiger Cat's Grey Cup. He's just done it so many times, we don't believe you anymore. And we need to see the results. Meanwhile, over in Ottawa, it's like you had such a great start out of the gates, and it's sad to see going. The biggest question mark for me on the Ottawa, well, not the question mark, what I want to see, because you mentioned you want to see, so much out of Ryan Davey. Or Drew Brown. I just want to see a healthy season. I don't even think I think the key to their success is a healthy season, and the healthy season will lead to good numbers. I don't want to see astronomical numbers, record-breaking numbers from Drew Brown. He doesn't need to break a franchise record for passing yards in a season. But if he can just play 15 games this season, the wins and the stats are going to just come naturally. Obviously, Captain Obvious, if you play that many games, you're going to have good stats. But you know what I mean? Like he'll probably increase, and he'll probably put up outstanding numbers. So I think the let's start small with the Redblacks and see if we can build into a good season with the health of Drew Brown, because I don't think Jake Mayer is the kind of guy that you can put into a remodeled team, a rebuilt team, and him have success with it. I don't think he's that kind of quarterback. I don't think he's that kind of leader. So, I mean, it's going to come down to Drew Brown again. And like I said, how fast this team can come together with so many new players.
No.
So I don't know if you want me to go into my prediction for the season.
Well, now's the time to do it. Yeah.
We might as well. So, I mean, until he gets hurt, we've got to assume he's going to play. I can't handicap him right out of the gate here. Like, we just got to assume he's going to play as many games as Ottawa can roll out. I think the East is going to be the Connor McDavid division. It's going to be a pillow fight. I can't let that go. One of my favorite quotes from the NHL season, Connor McDavid calling the Pacific a pillow fight because it's just so pathetic. And I think the East is going to be the Canadian Football League's pillow fight. Despite that the last couple of years, it seems to have been the stronger of the divisions. But I think I'm going to give the Redblacks a 10-8 season. But in the East, I think that's going to be good enough to at least tie for first in the Eastern Division.
I think the East Division is going to be a pillow fight, but someone's going to just put in a bunch of rocks in their pillowcases.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna. Someone's gonna play dirty, and I think that might be Ottawa somewhere. I'm with you. I think they start the season 2-3. That schedule does not play well, too well, and I think they beat Toronto and take one away from Edmonton, at least one from Edmonton. But those games against Montreal and Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan is a team, obviously defending Grey Cup champions. They lost a lot of players, but they're kind of revamping everybody who were there in minimal roles are now going to be thrusted into the starting rotation, right? So that leads to you still have the experience, familiarity. I don't want to talk too much about the Saskatchewan Roughriders as we're talking about. I'm just trying to explain why I'm predicting Ottawa starts 2-3. There's just too many players. They need to gel. They need to take time to gel, and that start is going to probably hinder them a little bit. I think they're going to be a solid fight for second place in the East, but I don't. It's somewhere between second and third, definitely. And I think it comes down to the last couple of weeks of the season. I don't think Toronto's going to be a big player. I think they're just going to be fending off Hamilton. And if Hamilton can make some big defensive plays with their new acquisitions, then it all comes down to Drew Brown's health. I think if Drew Brown stays healthy, I think it's their second place to lose. If not, we're probably looking at Hamilton hosting an Eastern semifinal. But I do have Ottawa 9-8-1. I think they tie a game. Possibly with Hamilton somewhere down the line, but I do have them 9-8-1 to finish. I'll say second. I say tied for second. Maybe they'll have the second. They'll have the tiebreaker with Hamilton, but somewhere within that range. So second, and it's good enough for second in the East. 9-8-1 is my expertise prediction for the Ottawa
and
Redblacks.
bettors' ears pop up because when Dalts calls a tie, it's going to happen, as we've learned. So anyone who wants to play some bets, find out what Dalts calls that tie.
Yeah, and speaking of betting,
drop some bank.
Speaking of betting, yeah, we are partnered with the good people at Sports Interaction. Go to SIA.com/Rouge, and your first deposit will be matched up to 100%. And I'm looking forward to that. You know, this is the first time where I didn't go through the whole schedule yet. So now I have to, in anticipation for next week, as we preview the Toronto Argonauts. Tony, any final thoughts regarding to the Ottawa Redblacks, or any final thoughts in general?
Just on the Redblacks, I mean, they have potential to be one of the more exciting football teams this season, and I hope they do. It'll be fun watching Redblacks games if all the pieces fall into place.
Oh, yeah.
Or even half fall into place. They're still going to be an exciting football team.
Yeah, it's I know I talked last couple of years, with the Bombers and their constant going to the Grey Cup, and then the Jets coming into their own. Obviously, this year not so well. It was fun. It was a fun 12 months in Winnipeg. Even though the ending wasn't exactly what we wanted, it was still just constant 12 months of sports happiness. Aside from one day, the Jets were eliminated.
Actually,
and then you go on to the Bombers. The Bombers were eliminated. The Jets come out winning, right? There is no 2-month break. And that's what I love. In Ottawa, it's just kind of 3 months every 6 months where it's just complete depression. It's unfortunate. So I want the people of Ottawa to be happy this year.
Yeah. All right. And actually, if you want to have a little, just because we're talking Ottawa, a little fun Ottawa football history, and it's a player whose name I legitimately don't know, so we can add this to the mystery deck player if you want to. But my mother-in-law used to work at a bank, and every now and then, I was in my 20s, mid-20s, and every now and then, her mother ran the bank, and every now and then she'd invite Trace, my wife, and I in to do some odd jobs that regular workers wouldn't do. We make a couple bucks, throwing some. And there was a gentleman working there, and he looked familiar, and I couldn't figure it out at first. But at the time, I could remember a name, and I could remember who it was. And then it dawned on me, and this poor fellow just got bombarded with my CFL fandom. But if you remember a football game when the Ottawa Renegades were still around, it was a Canada Day game. And this guy caught the dramatic touchdown. I think it was a big touchdown and run to tie the game and send it to overtime. And he eventually caught the overtime winning touchdown that won the game for the Redblacks in one of the most epic Canada Day comeback Renegades and Alouettes. I can't remember his name. You don't need to answer it now. Maybe you can have it for the next episode, or someone tweets it out or emails if you can remember what that player's name is, because that was 2001, maybe 2000. When did the Renegades come back?
Well, 2002 is when they came back.
Yeah, so it would have been around 2002, whatever that came. Either way, Google your hearts out. If you find this player, I'm not going to look him up because I lived the moment, and his name escaped me, and we were talking Ottawa, so that's a way for me to kind of tie in some Ottawa Football Club history.
Okay, now I have to find out.
And he was probably Canadian because he was retired and living in Calgary and working at a bank. But I just remembered when it dawned on me who he was, and I'm like, oh my God, you were part of one of the greatest Canada Day football games in the history of the Canadian Football League.
Oh, man.
But anyways, it's probably as quickly as Montreal, Ottawa, Canada Day game. And it's probably the first thing that'll come up.
Oh, man. Like, you mentioned players catching, and all I'm thinking is Josh Ronick, but I don't know if that was it.
It was definitely not Josh Ronick.
No, because I don't even think he was with the team until
But either way, we don't need to eat up a bunch of a show. But now I can see the hamster and the wheel just going crazy on behind your eyes. Figure this out before we wrap it up.
Yeah, you know what?
This is going to be the obscurest of obscure player profile decks.
All right, if you're watching this on TikTok, or if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening, Google you to your heart's desire. Let us know. You can send in the response on social media or through email at thenewrouge@gmail.com. The first person's likely going to send us an email, and we won't read it. I'm joking. We will. So that'll wrap it up for this week's episode of the Rouge Radio Podcast. Next week, we will focus on the Toronto Argonauts. And spoiler alert,
2005.
It was 2005?
Just a quick Google, but I'm not seeing anyone's name. So I got that much already. Ottawa Renegades achieved a historic 23-point fourth quarter comeback. And the guy that scores the two key touchdowns for points for Ottawa in that game, I met and fanboyed out hard.
Yeah.
Anyways, I've already drugged the ending of this out too long trying to find this player's name, but
yeah, just a quick Google. The names Kerry Joseph and Josh Ronick pull up, but So
you're on deck for the next 9 teams, and now you have to have a little history moment then for the next.
Well, okay,
9 teams in 9 weeks.
Okay, we'll have that history.
Next? Who's on tap next week?
So it's the Toronto Argonauts. So I've got to come up with some history lesson for the Toronto Argonauts, something that I have in history. And of course, if you do have that, this is bad podcasting. just a lot of dead air trying to Google stuff.
I know. I could have brought it up, but it's fun.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll wrap it up this week's episode. Stay tuned for next week as we continue our 9 teams in 9 weeks with the Toronto Argonauts. For Tony, I'm Dalts. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.